finally have our hands on Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, and there's a whole host of issues that people have with it, many of which I'm not even really sure where to begin. But one of these issues is quite a messy one. Final Fantasy VIII is a game that doesn't really feature anything in the way of explicit content, yet that hasn't stopped some of the content from being retroactively changed. When looking at the character model for the Guardian Force Siren, you may notice she's a little bit different than she was in the original game. While Siren's new character model, along with all the other new character models, look absolutely incredible, some people claim this model is censored compared to the original. When compared with the OG model, you can notice she's a bit more covered than she was previously, with her now sporting a feather skirt just to make the, let's just say, cookie jar area less prominent. Though interestingly enough, Shiva's design has remained pretty much untouched since the original. But some have even gone as far as to claim it's not just Siren, but Rinoa as well. In the previous PS1 model for Final Fantasy VIII, Rinoa's top featured a deeper cut than the one that is featured currently. This means that Rinoa's puff abilities have been tragically nerfed. Rest in peace, my friend. This has led some people to claim that the game has indeed been censored from their perspective, which upsets some people just on principle. What's ironic is that this isn't the first time Siren has been censored in some capacity. For Final Fantasy VI, the North American version featured a, let's just say, family-friendly version of the sprite compared to the Super Famicom version. Squaresoft and the modern Square Enix has also done this with multiple other things throughout the years. In the case of the Chinese version of Final Fantasy XV, this also includes a change to Shiva's costume design, which sees her wearing this blue uniform. It's pretty strange to look at. This new version of Siren for Final Fantasy VIII Remastered is featured in all versions of the game though. While personally it's honestly not that big of a deal, I gotta admit it's pretty weird to see these minor changes. I understand that some people are pretty off-put by this just principally, having these aspects changed, ultimately even if they are very minor. The game has been released before and lo and behold, nothing bad really happened. And it's not like the increased graphical fidelity in any way makes the game any more taboo. It is a very strange modification, and considering some of the other issues that are present, this should be far from a deal breaker for Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, though I can still understand why this is a concern for people, as it can be perceived as somewhat revisionist. At the same time, I honestly don't believe there was any sort of attempt to actively censor the game. I personally think this is just more of a design tweak that Nomura, or whoever the artist for this rendition of Siren was, while drawing her decided to add this. And I primarily say this because if there was any attempt at censorship, there's no way that Shiva would be left the exact same way either, as Shiva's design is very similar, and were that the case, there's no way it would have also been left untouched. And on top of that, Siren's not the only one that looks different here. Just look at Squall for example. And in the case of Rinoa, it's likely that Nomura just drew her top a bit less deeply cut, probably not even realizing there would be any sort of controversy. This all being said, censorship is still a very big deal regarding these games, and it is always good to stay vigilant about it. Consider the upcoming Final Fantasy VII Remake, which has tons of concerns surrounding the potential censorship and how the game could indeed be impacted, rounding out its edges just to be more appealing to a modern audience. A game that has so much that could potentially be censored that I, as well as many others, have been hoping the game would push an M rating just to avoid having to be toned down in any way. With that said, for the most part, Square Enix and other Japanese companies as a whole have gotten better about approaching censorship in their Western releases, such as the Puff Puff Quest and Dragon Quest finally being uncensored here in the West with the release of Dragon Quest XI, which have been featured in numerous Dragon Quest games, and it was only uncensored for the first time ever in Dragon Quest XI, so that was pretty huge. So Ultima Weapons, how do you feel about this apparent censorship in Final Fantasy VIII Remastered? Does it make you principally upset? Do you think of it as something minor and not necessarily noteworthy? Subscribe, hit the bell icon, and let me know in the comments below. And if you've been enjoying my content, be sure to check out the Patreon for the Night Sky Prince. People like my awesome supporter, Sean Carr, are the ones who enable me to make the best, highest quality content that I humanly can, and it's something that super excites me and I want to keep going. So be sure to check out the link in the description below. Shout out to Sean and the rest of the Ultima community.